You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in entertainment, reality TV, sports, media, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Nick Durst here. Joe Calabrese is not. Sorry to disappoint you, although maybe some of you are happy about that. But that's okay because our guest today is awesome. He will bring all the enthusiasm and charisma that Joe usually brings for us. He really doesn't need much of an introduction. He joins the illustrious past guest list of all the Big Brother stars we've had on with us here today. Here he is from season 27 of Big Brother, Jimmy. Jimmy, welcome to the program. How has life been for you since being on the show?
Thank you so much for having me, and it's been good. It's a whirlwind because you kind of you go from this secluded environment where you literally have no contact to the outside world, right? You leave work, you leave your job, all to essentially play a game in a parking lot for CBS, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. It's been a blast, and I've really been enjoying the time outside the house, especially.
All right, so kind of snapping back to reality now. So let's talk about your reality before you were on the show. So I need to know now, what's the first app you're checking on your phone every day, and was it different before you went into the house?
Yeah, so the first app I'm checking every day is different. Before the house, it was my email because I was constantly in contact with production and CBS, and always one of that I'm always that person who wants to make sure every single box is checked. So I wanted to make sure forms were done on time or medical visits were done, especially
Yeah.
since I was brought into the casting process very late, so I had a very small window of time to get like the plethora of documentation done. So before the house, it was always Gmail, making sure I didn't miss an email from the West Coast. While I go to bed pretty early, so I didn't want to miss an email from the West Coast late at night. Today, I mean, I'll be honest, I do check TikTok, but I also check LinkedIn just because I'm shifting jobs a little bit, so I always check LinkedIn just to see what my friends have posted and see what jobs are out there. So a little bit of TikTok and a little bit of LinkedIn.
Business and some personal stuff. Love to hear it. So,
It's all about balance, right?
yeah. Now you, Jimmy, you're actually the third. You're James the third, right? So,
I am.
what is that like to have that legacy, the one, two, and three?
It's good. So I was accidentally the third. So my brother was supposed to have my name because he's the first. He's the
Mhm.
firstborn. So I'm the third triplet. I am a triplet for those who don't know. It's my brother, my sister, and myself. My brother was supposed to have the namesake, so it's my dad, my grandfather, obviously, and my brother was supposed to be James Jude Haggerty the third, and they just placed me in the wrong like
Bassinet.
casket, yeah, bassinet or whatever it's called, and that just became my name from there. So the legacy's nice.
Oh,
Uh,
misnamed.
yeah, because I'm not the firstborn, I don't feel the pressure, but
Yeah.
I'm always excited to take on the moniker of the
Mm.
third because I'm the third triplet. I'm the third of my namesake, and I was this
Mm.
close to being third boot from Big Brother. So
Mm.
three usually is my lucky
Three's your
number.
luck. Three's your lucky number,
I was hoping for more top three than bottom three,
right?
but I'll take
So
it.
once you got home, did you see this theory? Like when you, I guess when you were announced, everyone thought it was going to be like a triplet season. What
Yeah.
was your reaction to that?
Uh, I guess it wasn't that surprising. So like I've obviously wanted to be on the show for a really long time. I've been watching it since I was a young kid. And I've been always strategizing for ways that I would get on the show. And it always included using what differentiates me, which is being a triplet in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. So I always knew that I either wanted to apply with my triplets or apply with triplet being a big part of who I was. Um, in terms of being a triplet twist, that wasn't didn't surprise me, but it surprised me who they thought what were my triplets because I could see Ava. My sister's not gonna love this, but I could see Ava being my sister.
Right.
Vince being my brother, like no chance. Also,
Far-fetched.
guys, we're triplets. We're triplets, and Vince is like 10 years older than I am. So I don't know how that would work. That would be a massive delay in terms of birth order. But I thought it was really interesting, and I'm always excited to see the fans coming up with new twists and theories ahead of the season for sure.
So you, Jimmy, you're a fourth generation Floridian,
I
and
am.
you know Florida seems like a great place. So talk to us about some of the downsides about Florida, like the hurricanes. What part of Florida were you in, and what was the worst hurricane you experienced?
Yeah. So obviously hurricanes are just kind of a part of life, just like, tornadoes are in Kansas City or earthquakes are in California, right? So you don't really realize that it's that crazy until you leave because like you're used to hurricane season. You're used to, like we don't have snow days in Florida. We have hurricane days. So that was always something we were used to. I would say the toughest hurricane for me was right before I left for college. It was Hurricane Irma, only because that was the last big hurricane I was living in Florida full time for. We had to evacuate our house. You have to move your cars to certain places to avoid damage and that sort of a thing. Though it doesn't feel like existential because you're used to it, right? So you getting used to, oh, we just move our car to the
Hmm.
parking garage downtown because there's coverage, and we go stay at my aunt's house because we're in flood zone A and she's in flood zone C, right? So you just kind of get used to that. I would say last year's hurricane cycles were definitely the worst because we had, I think, two or three back to back. And so it's like when they come through, they leave a lot of debris. A second one comes by 2 weeks later, flushes up that debris and everything else. And even back home, I mean, I think just now when I was back home a few weeks ago after leaving the show, they just started getting fencing up in a lot of areas. It was so tough to get debris removed and fencing replaced. But I know my mom was happy because we had this big tree in our backyard she wanted removed, and the hurricane removed it
Took it
for
out.
us, and now she's ready for a pool. So
Free landscaping, get the in-ground pool.
hey, they saved 5 grand on that tree removal. Thanks hurricane.
So you mentioned you went to college, you went north, had
Yep.
enough of the Florida heat, Virginia Tech,
Yeah.
you go there for college,
Go
and you
Hokies.
must you must have loved it because you
Yeah.
stayed in Washington, D.C. So what was
Yeah.
the transition like for you, first of all, going away for college? How'd you like
Yeah.
Virginia Tech? And what was it like for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna stay here, and with differences between living in Florida and then living in the nation's capital?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And I think for me, I mean, I've always been a triplet. And so I've always been one of three or the third of three. And I got into colleges kind of all over the place. I applied all over the map from like UNC, Indiana, Alabama, Florida. I chose Virginia Tech because when I went to campus, there was a level of magic on the campus. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. It really did remind me of Hogwarts and I did this thing. I did this test when I went to colleges. I just stopped random people and talked to them for a couple of minutes just to see if they were nice. And
Mhm.
every single person I stopped at Virginia Tech was not just nice, but they were super excited and eager to talk to me. And that was something that really stuck out to me, along with the university's logo or the university saying "ut prosum" that I may serve. And I've always been motivated by figuring out ways that I can serve, whether that's in my career, in my personal life, or little things like even after the show, I'm going to Over the Edge weekend in Orlando, raising money for the Trevor Project. So I'm always looking for ways that I can serve. But when I went to college, I wanted to create a separate identity outside of just being a triplet. I wanted to be my own person, have my own birthday. Like these are the things I wanted to do. So it was really important for me, not just to go to a different school than my siblings, but to literally get out of Florida.
Yeah. Now,
Love Florida.
did your other two triplets go to the same school? Did they stay together?
We all had an agreement, different colleges in different cities.
Okay.
So my sister went to Stetson in Orlando. My brother went to Florida State, which is my family's legacy, and then I went to Virginia Tech. And it was, an absolute joy, an absolute dream come true to be out of college, to be creating your own identity and reinventing yourself from scratch. And that's the same thing that happened when I went to DC. You get to really build from the ground up, and I think for a lot of people that's really scary when you go from your roots and your foundation to just wiping the slate clean and starting all over again. But I prefer to look at the positive in everything. And I think in those instances, you have an opportunity to reinvent your brand, reinvent your perception, and figure out who you want to be defined as and viewed as through the people around you and help bring that to fruition and make that a reality. So those changes have always excited me, even though I know a lot of people don't love, living or leaving where they live or where they've created a base or a foundation. I've always been really excited about it. So excited about it, I may do it again. But it's always been really motivating for me and a blast. And especially moving to DC, I've always loved history. I've always loved government. And in Florida, everything's new. Everything's a highway. Everything's built. You drive everywhere. Living in DC and living in a historic neighborhood of DC where you can walk everywhere. I barely use my car. I live in a house that was built in the 1800s. Like for some people, that's not exciting. For me, that's like the coolest thing in the world. So
And you could
we'll see how
just
long it
if you're
lasts.
watching on video, Ronnie, you could see Jimmy's background. It looks very
Yeah.
Victorian age.
I've definitely created a space here that that matches the outside of my apartment for sure. But yeah, I mean, this wallpaper I put up, this painting was from my grandmother's house from the 30s.
Very nice.
When I was moving in my apartment, my parents were like, "There's a storage unit, grab whatever you want out of there," and that was definitely something that I saw, and I'm like, "It's coming home with me."
Awesome. So at Virginia Tech, you're studying economics, then you do
Yep.
consulting analytics. So
Yeah,
talk to us about some of the internships you were doing there
yeah.
and how that kind of shaped what you wanted to do post college, and ultimately what was those first few jobs like for you out of school?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, I was I went to the buffet of college majors and really said I'll take it because I am an overly ambitious person who I just love putting things on my plate from this hypothetical buffet, right? So there was a strong period of time at Virginia Tech where I had three majors. I started with economics, then economics moved out of the business school because they wanted more research funding. So they went to the College of Science. Economics is my bread and butter in terms of intellect, so I wanted to stick with it. I also really loved being in the College of Business. I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities and networking opportunities and firm opportunities that exist within Pamplin College of Business specifically. So I wanted to stay in that program as well. So I bounced around a few majors in business information technology and business management and data analytics and ended up with the latter. I was also studying political science while I was at Virginia Tech because I'm obviously very interested in government and politics. But after a certain point, I realized I didn't want to continue studying political science just because I enjoyed the coursework, I enjoyed what I was doing, but I didn't feel like it was something I wanted to stick with, even though I had done 3 out of the 4 years of the major.
Oh,
So I ended up, so my parents didn't love that, but they did love the fact that I was graduating in 4 years with 2 degrees, one in economics and one in business management with a focus in data analytics. I actually used those degrees to start off working for the university and doing political consulting. So initially, I was working with Virginia Tech to do a variety of things. We were building a financial advisory program for students. Obviously, students take out hundreds of $1,000s worth of loans, don't really know what to do with that, how to pay it back, how to plan for investing, retiring, those sorts of things. So we saw an opening to build an apparatus in the university to help advise those students on how to pay back loans, how to manage debt, how to budget, how to prepare for investment and retirement. And we built that program from the ground up. And now it's a program with 5 full-time staff members, a financial planning internship now with 20 students they take. I think in the last cohort might have been 25. So that's a legacy of the university I definitely really enjoy. And from there, I did a small stint in political consulting doing economic talking points, but I quickly realized I wanted to go from talking about problems to actually solving them, and that led me to pivot more directly to management consulting, and that led me to DC working for Accenture, where I was working with government agencies and business leaders to help them with their technology implementation challenges. I was handling change management, managing data analytics, reviewing data analytics, turning insights into actionable strategy recommendations that help the organization move toward a direction where they want to be. And towards the latter half of my time at Accenture, I was primarily focused on emerging technology implementation. So reviewing legacy systems, requirements gathering, a lot of product and project management to integrate AI and data solutions, data management solutions to help organizations more effectively manage data, more effectively utilize the insights that they're getting from that data, and then to effectively, and where it makes sense, integrate AI into their business processes. And then more recently, I've gone more deep into the private sector before the show with Mastercard, pretty much doing the same thing, but for Fortune 500 companies. And then I went on Big Brother. So
yeah. So Big
it's
Brother, right?
yeah,
That was your dream. You watched it
yeah.
for a long time. What was it like to apply? What was the process like to get cast? When you found out, how excited were you? And then also, how'd you work it out with Mastercard to say, I just started here, but I got a big opportunity. Can't tell you what it is, and I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was tough because I had applied to Big Brother when I was transitioning jobs. And so I was leaving Accenture, going to MasterCard while I was applying to jobs. Ironically enough, in this exact spot, I play kickball in DC. We do practices on Sundays. This particular Sunday, so normally after Sunday, we go out to the bars and just have a little drink or a beer. This particular Sunday, I chose to come home and apply to jobs. I applied to jobs very carefully, and I applied to 2 jobs that day. And one was MasterCard, and the other was a Big Brother application.
Mm.
If you had told me a few months later I would have gotten both of them, I don't think I would have believed you. Um, but obviously, MasterCard and I had a great relationship. Love everybody I met in the Arlington office, and it was a great experience and a great firm. Uh, and a great job. I absolutely loved working there. But when Big Brother called, it was just the experience of a lifetime. It's not something that I could have just said no to just because I'd started my job at Mastercard 3 months earlier, right? So that was just definitely one of those things where you have to, I think, put the ball in fate's court and let fate play tennis a little bit. And Mastercard fully understood. I pretty much kept it elusive with my project teams and a lot of my colleagues, but the VPs and leaders of our office, I did tell them that I was cast on Big Brother. Mainly because I didn't think they'd tell anybody, and two, because I felt like I owed them, especially our
Yeah, for
VPs,
sure.
just a more firm explanation. And I always like to, I never like to close a door or burn a bridge. So I just wanted to make sure, listen, if they had essentially told me, if you leave right now, you're burning this bridge, I wouldn't have done it, because relationship building is super important to me. Relationship management is super important to me. And it's not worth it to me to burn a bridge with somebody to go on a TV show. Like, that's probably the one hard line I would have had. But the office was supportive, my team was supportive, and they were essentially like, listen, as long as we don't have a hiring freeze due to economic conditions, we will bring you back when you come off the show, and we're excited to root for you and support you. And I did leave Mastercard to end up going on Big Brother. Had no regrets. Of course, when I come off the show, there is a hiring freeze due to economic conditions, and they're like, let's talk about bringing you back in February and March. And I'm open to it, but in the meantime, I am also looking for other, because like I'm not in the place where I'm like, I need to work right now, but I don't do well with downtime. And I'm doing a lot of things, outside of the actual traditional workspace, but I just have that itch to get back into the corporate world. So I am interviewing, I am applying. We'll see kind of what happens. Again, I always like to put that ball in fate's court and see where it goes.
All right, well, let's hope for the best there for you. We'll be rooting for you. You're big on LinkedIn. You updated that LinkedIn before you got on with us, so making things happen there. Like you said, connections are key.
Yeah,
So it's not about what you know, it's who you know. Uh,
it's who you know, especially in this economy. You network to get
yeah.
work.
So so tell us about the first time you recognized after the show.
So this is very quickly after leaving the show. So for those who don't know, when you get evicted, you leave the house, you immediately go into holding rooms, you have all these meetings, and then you film another show, you go back to the hotel room, you have to stand in an adjoining room with a PA, just, make sure you're okay. Literally, you do like 20 interviews. They wake up at 6 a.m., you do 20 interviews. And then the second the other interview's done, you have 30 minutes and you're in a car to the airport. And so less than 24 hours after leaving the show, you're in an airport. And I was walking to my gate, and somebody comes up to me and they go, "Oh my God, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but you look just like this guy on Big Brother." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." That's because I am that guy from Big Brother. And she was like, "No, you're no." She's like, "No, Mickey is HOH this week. That's one of your best friends in the house. There's no way you were evicted this week." And I just look at her and go, "Spoiler alert." And then we took a picture, and then I walked away. So that was the first time I was recognized. It was very quickly into being in LAX airport. And I think her name was Suzanne. I'm so sorry, Suzanne, for spoiling
Oh, it's Suzanne.
spoiling the episode. She had been on vacation, and she was behind a couple episodes, and I was like, "Yeah, well, spoiler, here I am." So that was
Yeah.
the first time, and it was definitely exciting to kind of realize, and in a way, also a little scary to realize that people know who you are. And I filmed a TV show again when I was leaving the Big Brother Unlocked show with three winners: Chelsea, Taylor, and Derek. And Taylor is the one who told me that, listen, Jimmy, people will come up to you, people will recognize you, but she goes, just for your awareness, more people will recognize you than will admit it. So she said, always be on your best
Right.
behavior.
Taking some pictures of you when you're not looking.
Yeah. And she's like, the last thing you want is something of you to end up on Twitter or online, and it's just not becoming of your personality, or et cetera. So she said, always just be overly cautious. And I
Mhm.
think that was really good advice, leaving a show where you're now like not famous, but I would consider like a public figure. You know what I mean?
All right. So obviously you big into fashion. We saw some
Yeah.
great outfits on the show. Now you have a limited amount of time to pack to get out there and a limited amount of space in a suitcase. So
Yep.
how did you strategize as far as like what am I gonna pack to wear on a daily basis?
So I had a lot less time than most other people on the cast, because most people in the cast were in the casting pipeline November, December, January. I didn't enter the pipeline until end of May. So
Wow. Wow,
from the
close.
yeah, right, from the day I got the first production call to when I moved into sequester was about a month. So
That's
I
crazy. You
literally
must be
had
really
no
impressed on that first phone
I
call.
I must have. I also literally applied like 2 days before the deadline, before they closed casting. So
Hmm.
lucky on that one as well. But I had no time to prepare. I would have liked to prepared a little bit more intentionally with what I showed on the show and things like that. But listen, when you're leaving your job, when you have people at home you're supporting and you have to prepay 4 months worth of bills, that was my number one priority. So I looked at my closet and I said, what do we got? Because I was not going to buy a single new thing for that show. Just because I didn't, you want to be smart with your money before you go on a TV show. And you also don't know if you're going to get work immediately right after. So I wanted to be smart. So I looked at my closet. I said, what do we got? I looked at the very exhaustive 50-page packing. Like they give you a pretty much a big list of things you can and can't pack. And lucky for me, most of the things that I like, I couldn't pack because they were patterned or textured or they
Yeah,
were green or white or logo or black or so that was tough. I'm not thoroughly impressed with what I wore on the show. I think I'll never judge what somebody wears on Big Brother ever again.
tough to
I
pack
had
in
I
that time crunch.
It is tough to pack in the time crunch and the specifications they give you are extremely strict. So I pretty much used what I had. They took some things. What I took into the house, I always just tried to make the best out of. But the underrated thing about being in the Big Brother house is you're there with 16 other people. So I did also start borrowing things from people here and there if I needed to change something up because we get one 28-inch suitcase. And for me, that's a weekend bag. And I had to pack that for 3 months, under 50 pounds. And I was at 49.8 pounds when I arrived at the airport. So I made it work somehow. I really don't know how, but we made it work.
There you go. So you this season, most people would say probably had the most chaotic head of household week. You had to
Yeah.
nominate the whole house, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't, no one has ever nominated more people in a week than you in the history of the
Yeah.
game. So what was it like for you? What was all the stress going through that? And ultimately, were you happy with how your head of household week played out?
Yeah. I think that's a really good question because I think the second HOH is such an interesting strategic opportunity to help shape and shift the paradigm of the game. And I wish I had been more understanding of that at the time because once I had understood, because I wanted to go into my HOH and make a big move. I wanted to start playing the game. I didn't feel like Vince had really done that. With the first HOH, so I really wanted to come in swinging and put up some big players. When I realized that there were powers unleashed into the game, my focus shifted from making a big move to making sure I got rid of as many of those powers as I could so that they wouldn't be a lingering effect for me or my group of people's strategy moving forward in the house. And I also wanted to make sure I was doing as little damage as possible to my social game, which I thought was in a much better position at that point than it actually was to come to find out. But I thought I was doing very well socially and I wanted to maintain that position. Um, in terms of stressful nominating 5 people, it's not stressful. I would have nominated more. Hell, I wish I'd nominated more. I love nominating people. I wish Adrian had won the first power up comp this summer. He would have used the buyout power, and I would have put up a sixth person. Like, let's put up 10 people. Let's do it. I'm super excited, but I wish I'd had a few more conversations because that was my big thing. The second we were done with the competition, I knew who I was putting up. Because I always say as HOH, the social dynamics that exist in the game. Don't give people the opportunity to organize a social campaign to distract you from what you know to be true and trick you into making a move for them, right? That's what happened with Mickey and Morgan on week 4, and I didn't want that to happen to me. So I infamously had the earliest nomination ceremony all season because I was ready to go with my nominations. Little did I expect that Keanu would pull himself off with a power. Kelly would then pull herself off with a puzzle that was sitting on the floor in order. That Adrian would win the blockbuster and pull himself off. So those are my 3 initial nominees that all pulled themselves off. I do wish I had done something, and this is the first time I'm really saying this because I had stood behind my decision to send Amy home. She was coming after me. We didn't have a good trust there. I wish I'd listened more to the people I was working with and put up Riley and Vince. I think that would have been a smarter move for my game. I didn't see how clearly the lines in the house had already been drawn. And I really thought I could work with them moving forward because I did not think my test was, would they nominate me? Would they vote to evict me? If I'm sitting next to them, would I go home? And I unfortunately didn't apply that test well enough to Vince and Riley because I do wish I'd put them up instead
Yeah.
of Will and
Now, do you
Will
think
Amy. So
Vince
that's what I wish I'd
do you
done
think Vince
differently.
owes a lot of his success in the game thanks to your help from week 1?
Um, in a way, I mean, I think I put him on a good path.
Yeah.
Because I chose who played the first HOH comp of the summer, so I essentially viewed that as an opportunity to pick who became the first head of household of the summer.
Yep.
And so I put Vince, because Vince was the one of the only people who was very gun ho and excited to
to play.
potentially be head of household of the summer, promised me safety. And so I put him in there with three people who I knew would throw the competition. Adrian knew he did well and almost won the power up comp, so he didn't want to win HOH. I put myself in there because I knew I wasn't going to win because I threw it. Ashley, I knew would throw it too. She told us she would because we briefly had a conversation where I was like, Ashley, if I tell them to throw it, will you be HOH? She didn't want to do it. She said, I'm throwing it no matter what. I said, cool. So essentially all three of us threw it. So I do credit myself that there a little bit because I am the reason Vince won the first head of household and really got to, I think, handle his position in the house very well because I do think he would have been more of a my cat's making a cameo, but would have made a more would have been a little bit more socially awkward, I think, in the background a little bit more in the first few weeks if he hadn't been head of household. So
Yeah, the
you're
power
welcome,
back
Vince.
to
But
back. There you go.
yeah, hey, he's paid me back for that. I've been doing Vince on Cameo, so
Perfect.
he's definitely paid me back for that. So I appreciate you, Vince.
So you get out, you get out, and you get your phone back. So what was
Yeah,
that like to get back on your phone, and how
yeah.
crazy was your social media when you first open up in the car ride? And do you feel like you were portrayed by the editing as a bit of a villain?
Yeah.
And are you okay with that?
I'm always okay being portrayed as a villain, but I do have an issue with the way I was edited. So when I got my phone back, I was actually very pleasantly surprised with the love and support that I was getting post my eviction. I had a lot of Big Brother alumni reaching out. I had a lot of celebrities in my DMs. People that I wouldn't think I'd be talking to in my wildest dreams were checking in on me. So that was the coolest thing in the world. The first thing I did when I got my phone back, I called my boyfriend Sean, and we had a very emotional conversation in the hotel room. And that was all really good. It was really good to start connecting with my family and my sister, my brother, my parents, and that was all really fun. Seeing the social media was actually pretty fun. I think I owe Mickey a fruit basket because I think I was pretty hated the first 2 weeks. I think she really helped my PR by sending me home. So Mickey, thank you so much for that. I do think the edit was a little off for me, and it's only just because I think the editors and production thought they'd have more time to flesh out my character and my story. And so I think because it happened so quickly, there wasn't enough time to flesh that out. So I do feel like there's a lot unwritten for me on the show, and I don't think a lot of my empathetic side was shown. I don't think a lot of my intellectual side was shown. I'm a very also deep person, had a lot of deep
Yeah. And I
conversations
think you were the only
in the
person on
house.
the cast that didn't cry this season on the show, or at
Yeah,
least
well,
weren't
I did
shown.
cry. Yeah, I did cry after I was nominated. Not that much. It's because I'm a strategic thinker. I do get upset, but I'm never a woe is me kind of person. It's always like, here's a challenge I've been given. How do I rise from that challenge? How do I take this challenge and make something work out of it? So my brain never goes into boohoo, woe is me ever. It's always, how do I rise from this challenge and how do I figure this out? Because, and that was tough. Even when I was nominated, it felt like I'd gone from one of the best social positions in the house to being in a position where everybody wanted me gone. And was it upsetting for about 5-10 minutes? Sure, it was.
Yeah.
After that, my wheels started turning. How do I come back from this? How do I talk to people? Who do I need to talk to? What deals can I strike with people? Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. But
Yeah.
that's just the way
How'd
my
you feel
my
about the way that, the Mick Tater and Morgan kind of blitzed you, like
yeah.
as they're getting ready?
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
Um, it was bizarre for sure. And that was the earliest renom ceremony we had all summer. It was at 9:30 in the morning, and most
Wow.
renom ceremonies happen at like 1 in the afternoon. So I think production knew I was going up and wanted to figure out what they were going to do story wise. But yeah, it was tough because I was eating a bagel downstairs. I just finished working out. It was my strategy to because I felt like I had to. I played really hard in the first 17 days because I had to decide who was going to be HOH, and then I was HOH. After day 17, I really wanted to fall into the background. And
Yeah.
I felt like I've been doing a very good job of that from day 17 to 29. So much so that for Mickey's renom ceremony, I was in gym clothes. I just finished a workout. I didn't plan on getting ready because I was like, I'm not in this episode. Like I was very well aware of who was going up and I had nothing to do with it. So I'm like, cool, I'm just going to hang out, hang back. I'm eating a bagel. They're like, hey, Jimmy, come up here. And I come upstairs. I see the iron and Mickey's shirt on the bed. I'm like, oh, they must have made me to iron something. I ironed for everyone in the house. So I just ironed it real quick, went back downstairs to finish my breakfast. And they're like, no, Jimmy, like come back up here. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm in the bathroom, and that's the infamous scene where they're like, Jimmy, I'm considering putting you up. And I was just shocked. And I remember, and this is another strategic thing that I, again, just never made the show. I was pressing Mickey because I knew she was not calling me up there to scare me. She was calling me up there to tell me she was putting me up.
Yeah.
But I wanted her to give me, I was like, Mickey, give me the most basic courtesy and let me know you're putting me up. If you are putting me up,
One
tell
tip.
me right now you are 100% putting me up. Because in Big Brother, if you tell somebody, Nick, I'm 100% putting you up, you are then incapable of putting that person up because you've destroyed the mystery around putting somebody up. So my last Hail Mary effort was to get Mickey to say, yes, Jimmy, I am 100% going to put you up today. I'll give you that decent courtesy. She would have been called to the diary room and they would have told her, you can't put him up. She unfortunately was too smart for that. But that was kind of my last ploy there once I realized what was happening.
Well, the nickname Mictator was great. And
It really
but
is.
once the Mictator was hit the road, Morgan was able to flourish and just control the game. So
Yep.
I know when you left, you were very upset with her mostly. You thought it was all hard, but were you proud with the way she ended up playing the game?
Morgan, yeah, absolutely. She killed it. I even told her this when the cameras were down on the finale stage. I walked up to her and I said, listen, Morgan, I just wanted you to know I don't hate you. I heard her say that a lot of times on the show. Jimmy hates me. Jimmy hates me. Jimmy hates me. And I wanted to just approach her and say, it's a game. It's not that personal. I said, did I have an issue with you? And did I work it through online? Yes, I did. Should I maybe not have said some things that I said? Absolutely. And I did come to her and I said, listen, there are some things you're going to see when you leave this house. I do want you to hear it from me first that I am sorry. I don't stand behind a lot of those things, but I was just working through my eviction. I said, she and I believe she played a really great game. She controlled Becky's HOH. She controlled all of Vince's HOHs. She went on a very strong competitive streak, winning 8 rounds of safety, consecutive rounds of safety, breaking a record. Morgan played an incredible game. She's a gamer at heart. I think that showed. She was gaming 24/7 in the house. That's one of the reasons I aligned with her on day 2 is because I saw that drive, that passion, that power. And I was really, really excited to see her continue to drive that forward throughout her time in the house. But I did want to, just as a person, connect with her on stage and
Mhm.
say, listen, I've had time to work through my eviction. I know that once you see the things I've said online, you're going to need time to work through what that means for a potential friendship. But I want you to hear it from me. I am sorry, and I respect your gameplay, and hope we can be friends outside of this. So I'm really impressed with her as a person and as a game player, and excited to see what Morgan
Yeah.
does next.
Now, how about your on again, off again buddy, Keanu? I mean, were you surprised the run he was able to go on when you guys right in the from the jump were targeting
Yeah.
him as the house and he was just able to continue to take himself off?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think what was showed was initially Keanu and I were trying to work together
You
from the get
are.
go, and then he went to Vince to try to put me up for whatever reason. I think it's because he saw that I was playing a good social game. I heard about that, so then I went to Vince and tried to get Keanu up, and that kind of started the back and forth, and we tried working it out. I mean, Keanu created an alliance called the Unexpendables with Riley and Vince. He pitched that to me first, so that was initially supposed to be a him and I final 2 called the Unexpendables, and we were going to build a group around that of people who we considered expendable. And I wish I had worked with Keanu. I think we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Keanu is somebody I was as the type of person I was really close with in high school.
Could have
The
worked.
kind
I
of
mean, hit him with the all the winning and you with the social game. Because
yeah,
Keanu, I mean, he was a great winner
yeah,
with all the competitions, but he had no read on what was going on in the house.
yeah.
He never knew what
No, that's where we could have balanced each other a little bit.
Right.
Like I think he should have partnered with me over Vince, and I should have partnered with Keanu over partnering with Vince.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been better for both of our games. And it's definitely a regret that I have after the show. But I mean, because I've always loved Keanu as a person. He's a great guy. He's a
Yeah.
walking dad joke, and those are the types of people I really connect with. And he had a great competition run. He really did, and I think that there's something to show respect about that. I don't think he should have won the show, and I'm glad he didn't, just because Big Brother is a social game. It's not called the challenge for a reason. And his social game could use a lot of improvement. But one of the best things about Keanu is he's already trying to improve his social game now, trying to learn from his mistakes. And I think that's so admirable about a person. And one of the reasons Keanu is definitely one of my favorite people to come out of this season for sure.
Very nice. So for you, any regrets at all with the way you played the game?
Yeah, in a way. I do wish I had. Listen, there's a lot of downtime in the house, and when I get bored, I'm like cream cheese on a bagel. I just spread shit, and I really wish really wish I hadn't done that. Wish I'd listened a lot more than I'd spoken, and had taken more of an observer role in the house. So I wish I'd done that. I don't regret winning a competition from the jump. One of the things I did always say is I did want to strategically play competitions, but I did want to win. I was the first person to win 2 competitions of the summer. I played in 5 competitions all summer, won 2 of them, 40% win rate's pretty good. So I feel good with that. I feel relatively good with my social game, but I definitely should have flown a little bit more under the radar, listened more than I had spoken, and had tried to understand my social position better in the game. And even now, I think those are things that you can take forward in life and
Yeah.
learn from. You know what I mean?
Take him into corporate America. So
Yeah.
for you, what was the most surprising part about the house itself?
Oh gosh, the most surprising part about the house itself. So that's really interesting because I didn't really even know what to expect. Like I'm a big fan of the show. I understand the house layout. I know kind of the schedule of filming and things like that. I think I was really surprised with how long some filming days could be. So when we first got there, we were awake for 26, 27 hours. Yeah, without sleep. So that adds to the psychological elements as well. So I think that was most surprising to me, or like being asleep at 3 a.m. and getting called into the diary room to like hang out with them for 2 hours, and then you finally finish, so you get ready for to go back to bed. And the second you put your head back on the pillow, they wake everybody up for the day. So those are the things I don't think I fully expected, but you really should have understood the fact that you're filming a TV show. You're there to kind of do what they need you to do when you need to do it, but you really are working in that house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's rough. Yeah, good to hear that. I didn't know that you're waking up in the night to go to the diary room. So now
Yeah, so we seem a little tired in there. That's
yeah,
why.
so the diary room, obviously you and others, you have those
Yeah.
good one-liners. So are the
Yeah.
producers kind of coaching you through what they want you to say, or are those coming off the top of your head?
Yeah. Well, I can only speak from my experience. I was never given something to say in the diary room I didn't mean. Because a lot of the times it's just like this: you're talking to a
Yeah.
camera, you don't see anybody, so that's the difference. But you'll talk at them, you'll say things. They're like, "Oh, Jimmy, I just like what you said. Could you just say that line one more time?" Or they're like, "Can we put a button on it by saying this, and this? Does that summarize the like a lot of
Yeah.
the times you give them a paragraph, they want a
And they'll
sentence.
tighten it up.
So they'll tighten it up and they'll be like, but they always gut check. It's like, so Nick, does this would I'm not happy Keanu won, but I'm proud to see him, winning a competition. Would that summarize how you feel? You go, yes. Okay, can you give that to us? That's sort of the vibe of the diary room. And again, I've never been told to say something I didn't mean, or never fed a one liner that I didn't give them. So yeah, honestly, advice in the diary room probably would have been nice. I would have probably benefited from some coaching in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's unfortunately I production. That's another thing that actually did surprise me is how hands off production is on the show. Like I did think production had much more of a role. Like we barely see them, we barely hear from them. It is
Right.
really is them throwing us into this environment and seeing how we react.
All right. So there you have it from Jimmy himself on the inside. Who is the best cook in the house?
Oh gosh, by far Mickey and Rachel and Morgan, they were holding down the fort, even though Rachel was on Worst Cooks of America and she never let us forget. And it was crazy. She would say that I'm cooking dinner. No, I was on Worst Cooks of America. I'm like, that's not that doesn't sound the way you think it sounds, because the way she's implying it
I think
is
she got
I
off like right away too on that show.
she did. And I was like, I think you're implying you've learned a lot, but you make it sound like you're a terrible cook, which she is not a terrible cook. She needs to learn how to season chicken better. But Mickey, I don't think I ate a dish that Mickey and Morgan cooked that wasn't phenomenal. And Morgan especially got me addicted to creating. I mean, this is not revolutionary, but I make breakfast tacos now almost every morning, just with like eggs and tomatoes and bacon, or potatoes and bacon, and then a little sriracha. And so Morgan made incredible breakfast tacos. Mickey made incredible dinners, and Rachel was always cooking. So I'm really, really excited. I got to eat in the M&M plus R kitchen.
Fair enough there. Now, obviously, we talked about the top. You're from Florida. You're a big Harry Potter guy. Disney or Universal? What's your preference? And how do you feel about the extraordinary prices these parks have these days? At least you could still use your Florida discount through your family. But
Yeah.
what's your take on the theme parks down there?
Yeah, so I love the theme parks. Super big fan of them. I'm actually planning a trip with the cast, well, most of the cast, to go down to Epic Universe around the time. So we're all going to be in Orlando for Over the Edge weekend, a charity event in
Shout out to
Orlando.
Omar. Great event. What's
Yes, yeah. Shout out to Omar. So we'll be down there for Over the Edge. We're planning a Universal trip while we're down there as well. So for me, it's Universal, just because I love Harry Potter. I think Universal is really shifting the paradigm of theme parks and theming, and they actually are really competing with the Imagineers of Disney in terms of the immersive experiences they're able to create. The pricing's ridiculous, and there is no justifiable reason to have tickets that high. I think it's one of those things where it's much easier for prices to come up than they are to come down. I mean, we see that in the grocery store, right? When way back when, and I would always get on the soapbox. Way back when inflation was 8%, you'd see cereal companies or even somebody like Nestle, right, raising the prices 24%, and they're netting a cool 16% in their pocket on top of the on just because of the perception of prices are
Right.
increasing. So we're going to increase our prices, but we're going to increase them by a lot more than we need to.
Yep.
And I think prices are very sticky, and so once they go up, it's a lot harder for them to come down. I think we've seen that across housing, across consumer goods, and even across entertainment, flying, and theme parks. So how do we bring that down is a great question, but it is way too high. But to answer your question, I do prefer Universal over Disney. Disney's great, and I absolutely love going to Disney. I just think it is a little bit more family oriented, and Universal has some great restaurants. Shout out to Mythos, and has great drinks. And but you know what? There is something to say for drinking around the world at Epcot, especially post those recent improvements. I'm really excited to check it out.
All right, so Jimmy will be down there first weekend in December for Over the Edge Celebrity Weekend, and every reality star you could think of will be there as well. So everyone, go check out that event. So Jimmy, will you be rappelling from the building?
Yes, I will be. I will be doing everything and anything.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing that here. Now, Jimmy, in your life or in your career or in your time with Big Brother, what would you say has been your you know I'm right moment? What I mean by that, it's a time or place. So you wanted to pursue something. You asked somebody for advice. That person said, Jimmy, bad idea. Don't do it. Not going to work out. And you said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
Actually, I think it's happening right. So it's happening right now. It's something I can't fully talk about, and something I don't fully know if we're going to strike a deal
Well,
on it or
stay
not. But
tuned.
stay tuned. So I can kind of describe around the edges a little bit here. But I've always been a very creative person outside of like corporate life and Big Brother, and I've always been a big writer. And so I wrote this book or concept for a book when I was in college. It never came to fruition as a book, mainly just because you get so distracted with a variety of other things. But after being in LA, I started pitching it as a TV show, and we're going to be in meetings to look at potential development of a sitcom.
Ah.
And I was told
Are
by
you
a
gonna
lot.
be in the sitcom or are you just gonna be a producer?
No, just on the production side of things. I
Okay.
don't fancy myself an actor, but I'm really excited to listen. If it comes to fruition, I'm really excited to see it. We're still building the production team. We're still deciding who we're going to go with. We still have a lot of meetings to have happen. And again, it may not happen, but it was one of those things where I was told, listen, just don't. It's not a good idea. Don't pursue it. Like focus on where you are now, and achieving your goals. And I'm like, well, this is a goal of mine. And I'm just turned 26. I'm at that age where if you can always come back to what you were doing, right? If you don't try to pursue something, you're going to live your life full of what ifs and regrets. And I refuse to live that way. So if you know that you went for something, if you know that you put your 100% all into something and it doesn't happen, you at least know you tried. So I'm experiencing it right now. Hopefully in a year or two, we'll have a little bit more of an update on what happened. But in the meantime, stay tuned.
All right. Well, Jimmy, on you know I'm right here. We always give our guests the last word. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
open up the mic to you now. Tell us whatever you got going on, what could be next for you. Is there any more reality TV aspirations? And tell everybody where they could find you on social media and hey, let them know how they can donate to your cause for Over the Edge Celebrity Weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks so much, Nick. So thank you again. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy. You can find me at Jimmy Haggerty on all platforms. Currently, I have some really interesting content coming up with one of my besties in the house, Rachel. So stay tuned for that. Next weekend, we'll be at the CBS premiere of the new reality TV show, The Road. So that'll be really fun. And we have a lot of interesting things coming out of that. I'm also on Cameo, doing Jimmy cameos, but now that Vince is back out of the house, but not online, I am reprising my Vince role on Cameo for the next 2 weeks only. So stay tuned for that. I'm also dropping merch at the end of this week. People have been asking for that for a really long time. I partnered with a really great local artist to get a couple merch pieces out. Very, very excited for that. And stay tuned, Jimmy. Maybe on another reality show right around the corner. Not a lot we can talk
Ooh.
about, but there are some things happening. So stay tuned. If you don't see Jimmy in front of the camera, you may hear about him producing something behind the camera. So stay tuned. And again, Nick, thank you So much for having me. And for Over the Edge weekend, you can support the Trevor Project on my Instagram. Link in bio for supporting Over the Edge weekend. We are raising $800 for the Trevor Project. So if you guys can give $1, give 10 cents, give whatever you can. We're raising this money in 2 months, and we're going to knock it out of the park. So I'm really excited.
Well, Jimmy, this has been great. I want to thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with everything moving forward here. And this has been it for this episode of You Know Mom Right. For our very special guest, Jimmy Heagerty III, I am your host, Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.